section of career development, I will be discussing about the fundamental theories of career development, and I will discuss what are the logic behind each of these theories or the important points of the theories. The first theory that I would discuss is harmonizing approach, that is the main authors who have given or proposed this theory are Frank Parson and John Holland. Parson gave an important factor called trait factor and trait factors of career development, which emphasized on the traits, personal traits of an individual to be taken care of in career development. Holland emphasized on person environment, how a person can adjust to the environment, that should be given emphasis on. Then the next theory or developmental approach of career focused on lifelong career development. It has been given by Donald Supper. I will be explaining each of these theories in more details, and the main focus of these two theories, harmonizing approach, is emphasizing the human trait of an individual and the person environment fit approach. The developmental approach emphasizes that a person need to learn or person need to continue learning throughout his career or lifelong career development approach. The third one is constructivist approach. Constructivist approach has been given by John Krumbolz and Vance Peavy. John Krumbolz says that learning happens in a social environment, or social learning theory is the base theory for constructivist approach. Peavy's theory says that it is a socio-dynamic approach to learning. So, career of an individual or career development does not necessarily happen, or it happens over a period of time, and there are various factors behind the career development. So, let us see in details what are these theories, what are the contributions of career development theories. So, from the past, as we learnt on harmonizing approach, developmental approach and constructivist approach, we move towards structural career development theories and developmental career theories. These two theories have some basic differences. Structural theories of career focuses on influence of environment. Environment has an influence on career choice of an individual. How does an environment influence on career choice? Individuals' career decisions are influenced by the labor market situation, socio-cultural factors, for example, his background, his family background, race, ethnicity, gender, disability and geographical distribution of opportunities. So, these factors play an important role in helping an individual make a choice of his career. So, which says that an individual is propelled by the factors or influenced by the factors like labor market conditions, the socio-cultural background, that is his family background, the ethnicity, gender, disability and geographical distribution of opportunities. Sometimes you must have seen that a doctor is influenced to select a career because his parents are doctors. Sometimes you see that a person born in a family of engineers will always have a tendency to select the profession because of his parental background. So, which not necessarily happens, but generally we find that people learn from their parents, learn from their family background and select a profession, but this is not necessarily correct. So, structural career development theory has given this proposition. Then next, moving further to developmental career theories. What is developmental career theory? It emphasizes on the importance of development of self concept. What is self concept? How an individual sees himself, understands self is what is called the importance of development of self concept. So, self concept also helps in selecting a career. According to developmental theory, self concept changes over time. It does not remain static, but it is dynamic. It changes over time and develops as a result of experience. Today, I have an experience of several years, and tomorrow I may have encountered another experience. So, my self concept may change. As such, career development is a lifelong process. So, this theory says that it is the choice of a career is based on the self concept of an individual, and self concept is not static, it changes with experience of an individual. So, structural development, career development theory. Well, let us again discuss about theory of motivation and personality. I will be discussing about the theory of motivation and personality. Maslow has given a theory in 1943 which says that initially stated that individuals must satisfy their lower level needs before progressing to meet higher growth needs. So, an individual has say first order needs and higher order needs, or lower order and higher order needs. We will be discussing successively. So, needs are necessarily for maintaining life and can be arranged in a hierarchical order from lowest to highest. As one is met, the other need emerges. As one need is met, capacity to address and meet higher needs is increased. So, there are say physiological needs of an individual, safety needs, belongingness and love needs, esteem needs and self actualization needs. So, these needs are arranged hierarchically as basic needs and higher order needs. So, basic need is the need for food, water, warmth, rest or physiological needs, and the safety needs, that is security and safety. Further comes the need for psychological needs, or the need for affiliation, belongingness and friendship. So, intimate relationship, friendship. So, these needs are these are called the psychological, which satisfy the psychological needs of an individual. And then growth needs or esteem and self actualization needs, which are self fulfillment needs. So, these needs are called the higher order needs. Esteem needs, the need for a prestige, position and feeling of accomplishment. So, as an individual attains the need for safety, psychological needs and belongingness and say friendship needs. So, the individual his higher order needs dominates, and the person wants to earn prestige, position, rewards, looks for recognition. So, these needs become dominant, and further once the individual attains all these or is able to satisfy all these needs, then the dominant need is the self actualization need, where achieving one's full potential including the creative activities. So, an individual reaches the highest level of need, which is need of self actualization or self fulfillment needs. So, structural career development theory, which was proposed by the structural career theory, which says that influence of environment on career choice. The career choice of an individual depends on his environment, his background, the market situation, socio-cultural factors, class. So, the logic behind this is the theory which is dominating or which is guiding the structural career development theory is theory of motivation given by Maslow. Similarly, there is McClelland's 3 need theory, which says that each individual has dominant needs, that is need for affiliation, need for achievement and need for power, and these needs are also guiding the choice of an individual. So, McClelland's need theory, I would like to state that David McClelland built his work on built on this work in his book in the Achieving Society. In 1961, he has written a book, The Achieving Society, and he identified these 3 motivators, that is the need for achievement, need for affiliation and need for power as the dominant needs of an individual. People will have different characteristics depending on their dominant motivator. So, the choice of a career depends on what is the dominant need of an individual. McClelland says that regardless of the gender, culture, age, we all have three motivating drivers. Everybody has these three needs and one of these will be the dominant motivating factor or driver for choice of a profession. So, this dominant motivator is largely dependent on our culture or life experience or the background, family background. McClelland's need theory, need for achievement. If there is a higher need for achievement, the person would have dominant needs of must win at any cost, must be on the top and receive the credit. So, these would be the need of an individual. The person who has a need for power would desire control of everything and everyone and everything, need for power. He would like to possess power, to influence people, to have control over everything and everyone. Exaggerates own position and resources. The one who has dominant need for affiliation would demand blind loyalty and harmony and does not tolerate disagreement, would like to have a sense of would have a sense of harmony, would like to be affiliated with people. So, these are the dominant needs of as per the McClelland's need theory. Then theory of occupational choice. Socio-economic career development theory is based on the idea that a person's culture, family background and social and economic conditions and other factors outside the control of an individual impact the person's identity. Identity of a person is built based on the affiliation or the family background of the individual, his social and economic conditions, the culture from which he hails and the values and personal and professional. This will help in development of identity and values and personal and professional development of an individual. So, overall what we have understood is a person's choice of career depends on the culture, family background, social and economic conditions which will shape individual's identity, value system, personal and professional development. People need to work for money so that they can purchase goods to meet their needs. Emphasis is placed on marketplace and on supply and demand factors as they interact. So, what we have discussed so far in this, the occupational choice depends on the person's family background, culture, social and economic conditions and which helps in shaping the person's identity, value and personal and professional development. Then moving further, a lifespan model which we will discuss. An individual is in different career stages. We have already discussed in the first section, in the first lecture we discussed that an individual is in different developmental stage. Those developmental stages can be categorized into 5 stages, that is growth, which is where where the employee is in the just exploration stage, growth stage or exploration. He is growth stage which is fantasy based. So, a lifespan model comprised of 5 developmental stages. One is growth stage, exploration, establishment, maintenance and disengagement. The growth stage is fantasy based, exploration stage is trial occupations, establishment stage is decide and advance, maintenance stage is hold on to hard earned gains, disengagement is decreased work participation. So, let us discuss each one of these stage. Growth stage is just full of fancy and fantasy, where the person has just experienced or is experiencing or encountering the workplace, and the second one is the exploration, where the trial occupation just out of the school or the colleges, the person is taking some assignment establishment is decide and advance, they are settled in a job, they have gained some couple of years of experience. Maintenance is when the person has completely established himself, completely settled on the job and hold on hard earned gains, they have worked, contributed to the workplace. Disengagement is when the person is about or is almost in the pre stage of retirement. So, decreased work participation when the person faces or person understands that he is about to leave or quit the organization. So, there is a lack of engagement in the work, in the job and with the organization. And these 9 major life roles: child, student, leisure, citizen, worker, spouse, homemaker, parent and pensioner. An individual in these life stages are experiencing different major roles. Decision points occur before and after and at the time of taking on a new role or giving up an old role. So, people face some kind of challenges when they are in one role or they are moving from one role to another. That is when a new employee joins an organization, he is a bachelor, and when he settles down, then comes some challenges of that if the spouse is working and if there is when he is entering into a family life. So, there are some challenges with the kids and relocation to a different if there is a transfer associated with a transfer, then he has to think rethink whether to take a transfer or not, because the kids are in school where. So, such challenges do occur in the life stages of an individual. So, therefore, an individual requires career development initiatives or support from the organization. Then next we will move on to the next theory, that is called the Super's career development theory, is perhaps the most widely known lifespan view of career development. Developmental theories recognize the changes that people go through as they mature. So, when people take up different roles or when the role changes from a kid to from a child to a student or a leisure and citizen to worker and spouse, homemaker, parent and pensioner, each role is different and person is moving or is transitioning from one phase to another. Developmental theories recognize the change that people go through as they mature, and they emphasize a lifespan approach to career choice and adaptation. These theories usually partition working life into stages, and they try to specify the typical vocational behavior, the typical learning or developmental needs at each stage of the life roles. So, developmental theory, Super and his colleagues outline 5 major stages of career development, that is growth, exploration, establishment, maintenance and disengagement, with each one characterized by 3 or 4 appropriate developmental tasks. Originally, Super viewed the stages as chronological, but later he also acknowledged as age independent, task centered view of stage. So, Super has further identified 5 stages, that is preparation for work, that is 0 to 25 years, develop occupational self image, assess alternative occupations, develop initial occupational choice and pursue necessary education. So, preparation for work, that is the first stage. The second one is 18 to 25 years, obtain job offers from desired organizations and select appropriate job based on complete and accurate information. The first stage, when the employee is is just experiencing the or is preparing to work, is develop occupational self image. So, here in this it is advised that as a person need to understand first himself, or self assessment is important, assess alternative competencies, occupations, what are the alternatives occupations given available, alternative available, and how he can, with which he need to identify what is his first choice, what are the alternative occupations available, his own self image, assess his personality, strengths, weaknesses, and then internalize, introspect whether he will be suitable for these kinds of job, develop initiative, occupational choice, and pursue necessary education. So, the person has to take necessary education in order to prepare himself for the work. In the second stage, organizational entry, when the person is just about to take up offer, obtain offer from desired organization, they need to select appropriate job based on complete and accurate information. So, there we have discussed somewhere as realistic job preview. The organization also has to give a real picture of the organizational climate, the facilities being offered to the employees, the benefits given to the employees, or the real life, the real situation in the workplace. Then the third stage is early career stage, that is exploration stage, or learn job, learn organizational rules and fit into chosen occupation and organization, increase competence, pursue goals. So, here the focus should be on learning the rules, regulations of organization, and fit into those occupational goals, understand the goals of the organization and develop your competencies. So, individuals focus in the early stage should be to develop competencies, understand rules, etc. Then in the fourth stage, that is mid career, that is 40 to 55, reapprise early career and early adulthood. Reaffirm, modify your goal, just verify whether you have reached those goals or you need to remodify, make choices appropriate to middle adult years, remain productive. So, mostly the person has to be to learn and develop to be more productive, that is the emphasis. And finally, in the late career stage, that is retirement, 55 to retirement, remain productive in work, maintain self esteem and prepare for effective retirement, effective exit from the organization. Developmental career theory, there are 5 major stages. The first stage is growth. Growth is the first life stage, the period when children develop their capacities, attitude, interest and socialize their needs. They form an understanding of the world of work. This stage includes major career developmental tasks, becoming concerned about future. The children are just getting concerned about the future, increasing personal control of one's own life and convincing oneself to achieve in school, that is the major concern. In exploration stage, that is 14 to 24 years, is the period when individuals attempt to understand themselves and find their place in the world of work. Through class, work experience and hobbies, they try to identify their own interest and capabilities and figure out how they fit with various occupations available. They make tentative occupational choices and eventually obtain an occupation. Then moving further, we will discuss about the establishment stage, that is 25 to 44 years, is the period when the individual strives to secure the initial position and pursue chances for further advancement. This stage requires 3 developmental tasks. The first task is stabilizing or securing one's place in the organization. To secure one place in the organization by adapting to the organizational rules, regulations, requirement, performing job duties satisfactorily. The next task is consolidation of one's position by maintaining positive attitude, positive say being productive attitude, productive behavior and building favorable worker relationship, being adjusting to the work environment, having a positive attitude, working effectively with the peers. And the third one is to also find out avenues for next level of responsibilities to learn and develop in the job. Then the next stage is maintenance. 45 to 65 years is the continuous adjustment period, which includes career development tasks of holding or keeping up and innovating. So, the person has already established on the job. So, they have to find out innovative methods to keep themselves engaged, and the individuals strive to maintain what they have achieved, and for this reason they update their so updating the competencies and find innovative ways of performing on the job, because the individual has already established. So, they have to look for innovative ways or new methods to keep them motivated. So, through job routines and perform on their job routines. They also have to find out challenging assignments, and usually new grounds has to be broken in this period. They need to explore new methods to keep themselves motivated, engaged. And last stage is disengagement, which is over 65 years, is the period of transition of the workforce, and in this stage individuals encounter new challenges, the developmental task of deceleration, retirement. People have say they are almost about to quit the organization with a declined energy and interest in occupation, the present occupation. People gradually disengage, a sense of disengagement creeps in and from the occupational activities, and their focus now shifts to retirement planning. Then career development theory, developmental career theory, Donald Supper assumed that not everyone progresses through these three stages. Donald Supper assumed that not everyone progresses through these stages at fixed age or in the similar manner. Each individual is different and their career needs would be different. So, these are just basically the stages in which the majority of people exhibit these stages or experience these stages, but not necessarily every individual would pass on through these stages. The notion led him to develop and elaborate on the construct of career maturity or vocational maturity. It denotes the readiness of the individual to make career decisions. Operationally, it is defined as the extent to which an individual has completed stages, appropriate career developmental tasks in comparison with people in the same age. Supper and his colleagues developed much effort to define the construct and develop appropriate measures. Supper says that 6 factors for career maturity is awareness of the need to plan ahead, having decision making skills, having knowledge and use of information resources, having general career information, having general information about the world of work, and information about occupation and preferences. So, awareness of the need to plan ahead, the person must have a plan to move ahead in the career, must also have the decision making skills, knowledge and information of the resources available in the organization, having general career information. This should also be known to the individual, information about the knowledge about the world of work, and information about occupation of preferences. Then theory of identity status. Then so career development, and I will now focus on the role of mentors, career development and mentor. What is mentoring? Then I will discuss about who the mentors are, how can mentors help an individual to develop, why develop a mentoring program, how it is important, and then I will discuss about mentoring functions. So, career development and mentoring. Coming to the definition of mentoring, mentoring means having experienced senior people who can advise, counsel, guide employees and professionals for long term career development. Mentoring can be formal and informal. Informally, mid and senior level managers may voluntarily help express experienced employees and advise them on their career and other say personal and professional help. Studies have shown that mentoring can give career related guidance and act as an enabler to enhance the career success of an individual. Executives who coach, advise and encourage individuals of lesser rank. Mentors are basically the proteges communicators learn the rope, and old boys network, internal politics, career ladder, partnering teams, avoid discrimination. Then who is a mentor? Senior managers, peer group, they are the role models. How mentors can help? Mentors can advise, coach and encourage a manager. Why develop a mentoring program? So, mentoring program generates management's visibility, builds bridges between management and employee, it creates a culture of awareness, increase networking, foster people developers. What are the functions of mentors or mentoring functions? Inside an organization, like the sponsorship, exposure and visibility increases, coaching an individual, protecting an individual and giving them challenging assignments, advocate them internally. Outside an organization, outside environment, role models through acceptance, counseling and advice, and through friendship mentoring can be done. Then effective mentoring requires there should be trust between the mentor and the mentee. Mentoring helps in employee's career development, as mentors can make sure that subordinate develop skills and performance that are required to do job well. Mentors can schedule regular performance appraisals and cover whether current skills and performance are consistent with employees' career aspirations. Mentors can keep subordinates informed about how they can use firm's current career related benefits. And effective mentoring, good mentors listen and understand, they challenge and stimulate an individual to think something new, stimulate the learning of an individual, they coach an individual, give some professional or impart professional skills, or say help them learn new methods, build self confidence, provide wise counsel, teach by example, give them some say practical exposure, act as a role model, and they also share experiences or knowledge, then offer encouragement, they encourage individuals. So, good mentors are generally the one who listens and understands the problems of the mentee. They also stimulate the individual intellectually. They coach and guide an individual, develop their self confidence, provide counseling, and they give them some practical examples to help them develop. And the mentee is considered to learn when he understands the advice and listens, acts on those advice, and shows commitment to learning and checks ego, and he keeps his ego back at the door and asks for a feedback. So, if the person shuns the ego, then only he can infuse new learning. They are open minded, they are willing to change, and they are also proactive. So, successful mentoring session is possible when the mentor is willing to coach, guide and develop the subordinate, and the mentee is also accepting the advices of the mentors. While choosing a mentor, an appropriate potential mentor, do not be surprised if you are turned down. Be sure that mentor understands what you expect in terms of time and advice. There should be an agenda for mentoring a subordinate, mentoring a mentee, and respect the mentor's time. So, there should be these factors should be considered. So, special interest group needs assistance. Now, like we have discussed about the role of a mentor. Now, who are the people who need some kind of special assistance or special attention to be given in the organization? So, I discussed about the role of say why develop a mentoring program. It will generate visibility, build bridges between management and employees, and then we discussed about the mentoring functions, career development and mentor, and I also discussed about the effective mentoring in this session, and choosing a mentor, what care we must be taking, like an appropriate potential mentor who can help in development of an individual. So, with this I would like to conclude this session here. Thank you.